This is Marcus Hollinger, and this is the 116 Live Show on Holy Culture Radio, SiriusXM channel 154. Welcome. It's another fine week in the studio.
Sir.
My name is Marcus. I'm one of your co-hosts. I'm here with my good friend
Ace Harris.
And this is the 116 Live on Holy Culture Radio, SiriusXM channel 154. And we have the pleasure to hear. Ace, why don't you introduce our special guest?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun day. We got someone who's innovator, entrepreneur, businessman, man of faith, Roy Scott, CEO and founder of Healthy Hip Hop with us. You know, give that man a little welcome. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I know I'm excited because we were looking at the Healthy Hip Hop site and kind of checking out all the collateral. And as art hip hop people, it's always refreshing when you come across something that someone is doing and you're like, okay, like right away, without diving into the details, you can see the energy, you can see the intentionality, you can see the excellence and what's going on. So shout out to Healthy Hip Hop, shout out to what you're doing, Roy. And let's just dive right on into it. Why don't you, Roy, give our listeners the lowdown? Like, what is Healthy Hip Hop?
Absolutely. Well, Healthy Hip Hop is essentially hip hop for children and families. So usually when you think about kids' music, it's a little bit watered down. Ours just stays relevant with the culture, with the sound, the energy of hip hop and what's happening in the communities, on the radio, in the streets, etc. And so we identified that we think we all know that hip hop is the voice of our youth. A lot of the times the messaging is not always geared towards them or healthy for their young developing minds. So we wanted to make sure we created a positive outlet, Healthy Hip Hop. So we're not anti-hip hop. We love the culture, but we wanted to provide a positive alternative for kids.
Yeah, that's super dope. And I think what's super dope is like you kind of operate, which is kind of the whole premise of our show is like faith, culture, music, and you hit every one of those buckets like right on the head. So super dope to have you, man. Yeah. Maybe talk a little bit about. I know that Healthy Hip Hop is a broad, offering for just anybody. But talk a little bit about how faith, music, and culture plays into that.
Right. So really, the story behind Healthy Hip Hop was I was that kid who loved hip hop, music, and culture. And coming up, I didn't really have a lot of guidance around me, and decided I wanted to rap right after high school.
Of course, yeah. Everybody's music story.
You on this show, at some point you have done.
We should have like a listening party,
right? Everybody
put their like latest tape or old tapes out.
Right, exactly. So I was in the streets of Kansas City at all places, and
sorry.
You
said Kansas City, and I got to pause for a moment.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, my brother. I'm from Kansas City as well.
You from KC?
I
family?
am.
Okay,
yes,
so them Chiefs, we
had
did.
Super Bowl. Shout out to the Chiefs, Super Bowl champions.
Right.
That just happened. We're gonna talk Kansas City.
Shout out Mahomes playing that Caleb Gordon record. He's a Christian hip hop fan.
Absolutely, so. The culture is live. But we'll get back at live family moment here.
Sorry,
so you're in Kansas City. You are attracted to hip hop. You started to make music. Bring us into that.
So I started rapping. I actually was on the same label as Tech Nine. We were on Midwest Side Records, and really, it was almost like I was connected with Diamond Shields. So Diamond Shields was like the Master P of KC. So he was the dude that he had the hustle money, but he was putting it into the music. Mm-hmm. So gravitated towards that. And fast forward, we were deep in that. We started getting some traction. Even had an opportunity like deals on the table with Sony. This is way back like 2001. I'm old head. I'm aging myself. But my light bulb moment came when I had my son, and he was about 3 years older, so I was picking him up from school, and I noticed him repeating my music word for word. And so that music was promoting drugs, violence, et cetera. So I'm looking in the back seat of my guy like, I turned the music off. I'm going to be raw with
your own music.
It was my music, yeah. So, Mac James, Chop It Up, Click, that's what we was riding our stuff. And so I turned it off. I ain't gonna lie to you, I even had I used to smoke Black and Milds, had me a Black and Mild lit, my son was in the back, I threw the cigar out the window, turned the music off. I was like, man, I can't do this no more.
Whoa.
And to get deeper, that's why I was excited to be here to kind of tell the other part of the story that I don't get into is, at that moment, I knew God, but I really wasn't actively like pursuing him and trying to.
Yeah.
So at that moment, it was a God moment. I said, you know what, I'm done with all music. I'm just focused on like getting closer to God, getting closer to my wife and my children. That was it. I quit rapping. So all my homies, it was like, man, what's up, bro? Like, what what you mean you done rapping? Like, we had a pretty strong following. I was like, I'm just done.
Yeah.
And so just isolated myself and got deep in the Word of God and gave up music. And as I gave it all up, I know some of the scripture talks about that, as I gave everything up, like he actually gave it all back to me. He gave me this vision of, you know, do it for the kids and do it for me in that order. And so that's when I was like, okay, that's when I started doing healthy hip hop. So it wasn't even called healthy hip hop out the gate. I was just taking like the same beats I was using to do the, what I call the goon tunes. I was doing the same beats, but it was just like wheels on the bus, hokey pokey.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? My kids was getting crunk to it. And so that was kind of the origin story of where it started. And that's where the faith really kind of kicked in. It was like, I gave it all up to God, to Christ, and he gave me the vision back. And then he showed me it was on a global stage. And then now it's like I've been walking it out and manifesting. That was like 2009. So I've been at this for quite some time and never imagined it would evolve to a tech company where we're at now. So we developed our own mobile application. We're in the VC space. We're raising capital, you know, stuff that I had no idea about. So God just kind of showed me, opened my eyes to like new worlds and different things that I can do to do it in a way that's a positive impact, but still embrace the culture, still embrace what we love. But just like 116, what y'all doing it, you know what I mean, for the right reasons.
That's incredible. I'm kind of just having a visceral reaction because that moment that you talk about where your son, you're seeing it's one thing to talk about the impact that music and culture has on culture and on kids, and it's another thing to experience it at home with your child.
Oh,
to see, and it's your music, your child.
Right.
That's amazing that you had that opportunity, and out of that, it feels like you're solving a problem that's close to the vest, but now you're kind of bringing that to the world. I'm curious, at what moment? So there's the moment when you wanted to do this, where the vision was born, but at what moment did you feel you had something?
I really thought initially it was just with the music. So the music is still kind of our secret sauce. So we built the tech, we built all these different things around it, but it was the music. So the reception we got out the gate, because we had parents who kind of had a similar story where they're like, you know, we love hip hop, but I don't want my kids listening to this message. So they was like, it created a moment where families can have, wow, like I can enjoy like real hip hop culture with my kids without having to worry about any of the nonsense. And so at that moment, that's when we knew we really had something. And once we started in Kansas City, started getting some recognition there. We did some stuff with the Chiefs, with the Royals, like in their community stuff that they were doing. You know, the mayor got behind us. So once we kind of got some support from the city, we're like, you know, okay, we're on to something special. And then it just started growing from there.
Yeah, that's dope, man. I feel like, you just being so, you know, having a son. Do you feel like had you not had a son, like, would you be here? Like having a son, having the music front and center, how much did that like change your life in terms of how you see the world? Because I feel like sometimes, you know, we both have sons. I have two, he has two. I got one on the way. So I think just hearing your story live in front, it's just bringing it really. Appreciate it. It's just bringing it really fresh to my own story. So talk about how having not just a child, but having a son, raising men, makes this thing even more special for you, man.
Well, that's a great question, actually. So I knew since I was a kid, like my dad really wasn't active in my life. I knew him, and I still love him. I don't want to hold any judgment towards him, and we ironed all that stuff out now as a men, but he really wasn't active in my life. So I knew, like, since I was like 6 years old, like I wanted to have my own kids. I wanted to keep my family unit together. Like I came up in a broken family. And specifically, I always wanted a son, so just so I can provide for him what I always wanted. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I want to give him what I wanted as a young man.
You knew that young?
At 6, I knew that. Wow. And so, but I was lost for a long time. And then, but when I had him, it was like, okay, I have something greater to live for. And I was like, I actually loved him more than I love, you know, I was like, I'm putting him above everything, you know, at that point. And that was another story even about into my spiritual journey where God was even showing me like how I was actually loving my son more than I love God. And I had to rearrange that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, wow.
Right.
Talk a little bit about.
I would love to hear about that. I mean,
so I was making sure everything I was doing my best to make sure everything I was doing was just grounded in the word. Like I was doing from getting the scriptures myself and making sure like my life was aligning with it. And so it was a scripture that says, I might butcher it, but it was like, if you love, you know, any of these above me, like you're not worthy of me, right? And so I was thinking about that, and I was just honest. I'd be straight honest with God. I'm like, God, you know what? I love my son more than you right now. I ain't gonna lie to you. And then as I got closer to him, he shifted and showed me like, well, he's the source of, you know what I mean? Like, I don't get my son without the source, you know what I mean? God, without the Father, through Christ. And so it shifted my my perspective, my dynamic of like, okay, God, he's comes above all things, and God now my wife and then my kids, because I was in the whole, we didn't get into that one.
Here's a whole different alignment.
Right, because I was really, it was like my son above everything. So fast forward, he helped me prioritize, like, you know, God, my wife, then my children. Gotcha. But at that time,
it's beautiful.
My son was my top priority, and seeing him repeat my music, and I was reflecting on me as a kid and how like hip hop moved me. Like in Kansas City, like we was, you know, we like underground Bay Area. So we was in the Mac Dre era. So my name was Mac James. Like I was, some of it was off of Mac Dre. I thought we was Max, but Mac Dre.
Mouth, all that, Bay
Area. Mouth, take it back.
Side note, it's funny how hip hop is like that, because Kansas City is, I always tell people, we might as well be from Oakland.
Right.
Because that's the it's the export, it's the outpost of the Bay Area.
The whole Northern Cali, so you like Brother Lynch hung. Like
all of that.
That stuff was wicked if you look back on it for real. I grew up in that, and it had me wanting to be that and be in some of those circles, do some of those things, which was, and so seeing my son do that, that's why I was like, you know what, you're right, that was my God moment. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have. That just changed my whole perspective. Like, I can't be this kind of influence on him or anybody else. And so that's why I said I'm just done with music all over. I'm just done, and just was really leaning in with my wife and children and leaning in with God.
I think that's super dope, because like sometimes, obviously, we're going to get more into like the actual, you know, the tech story and all that stuff is important, the business and the culture piece, but just the faith launch pad is so interesting to me, because I feel like sometimes when you're having a faith moment, people kind of have a transformation moment, and kind of in an innocent way, we end up trading one idol for another.
Right.
And it's like, and so, in fact, you had to kind of reel it back and still see like, all right, had the son, but that was a blessing, but it wasn't to be, you know, put on his pedestal.
Right.
But the fact that you had a son kind of put that seed in you to do something great, and to use the talent that you have for music for something great, and just you know, use it for something wise and something special, man. So,
absolutely, I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, and my heart is definitely resonating with this. It's growing up, same city, same streets. My dad wasn't the most talkative man, but we spent a lot of time in the car together, and my pops wrote raps. He rapped, loved rap music, all those artists that we just talked about, found out about them. And I just remember as a kid, the first time I felt like my dad saw me was when he turned to me and told me to freestyle.
Wow.
And I was like, what? And I wanted to, because he was always doing it. And I was scared, and he was like, no, I'm not gonna judge you for what you say. I just want to hear you rap. And I did it. And over the years, those interactions became kind of central to our relationship. It's probably like the thing that I can look back and say, that's what we shared. And to hear your story and to see that full circle, the family and even the faith context, and how you've kind of taken that connection and built something, I think is truly special. Very unexpected route for us to start this conversation off, talking about family, interestingly enough.
Yeah.
But that's let's say I'm experiencing joy right now, hearing that full circle moment and what you're doing to bless families.
Straight up. I might know your pops. You know?
Yeah, we're gonna tie. Yeah, we're gonna because Kansas City is a very small city. Right. All right, watch. We're gonna get into that. We're gonna take a quick break and do some family geography research to see how deep these connections go. But if you're just joining us, this is the 116 Life. I am one of your co-hosts, Marcus Hollinger. I'm here with my good friend
Ace Harris,
and we're joined in studio today by Roy Scott, CEO and founder of Healthy Hip Hop. We're going to take a quick break. Here's some amazing kingdom building music, the kind that you can only find on SiriusXM channel 154. Keep it locked. It's Holy Culture Radio. All right, so welcome back. If you're just joining us, and if it's your first time joining us, my name is Marcus. I'm one of your co-hosts for the 116 Life, and I'm here with my good friend
Ace Harris.
And we're joined in studio by Roy Scott, CEO and founder of Healthy Hip Hop. And we've been talking about the genesis of healthy hip hop, which is a hip hop solution for families and for kids. And we had the opportunity to hear the family story that birthed this tech app, this music program that's serving families. Beautiful story. And where we wanted to start to kind of shape the conversation now is to talk a little bit more about the operational experience. So much of when we think about music entrepreneurs, I don't know if this is just me, but sometimes it can feel like we usually have culture to offer.
Right.
But the operational excellence to actually turn something into a fully functioning business can sometimes be lacking, and especially when you layer over the faith component. So I want to hear a bit, Roy, maybe you could bring us into the moment where you had some traction around the city playing the records. You alluded a bit, but I'd love to hear, when did the business go tech?
Yeah, the business went tech. It was probably around like 2018, 2019. So we was a good 10 years in. So we kicked things off around 2009, 2010, and the business model kind of evolved. And where we started, where I knew music, right? So again, I'm aging myself. So at that time, like, we flipping CDs. That was my whole hustle.
Oh yeah.
And I was out the trunk of my car, in case you mentioned Rich the Factor and them guys I would hustle my CDs with.
Yep.
And so I knew that out the gate. I'm like, if I purchase 1,000 CDs for $1,000, I'm gonna sell them on average $7 a pop. I'll make $7,000 off this batch. So that was kind of my hustle there. So it started with that. But then the live events really picked up.
Okay.
But it was more like for schools, for birthday. We was doing everything at that point. Birthday parties. They was booking us to come out.
Performing and like what?
Yeah. So we were doing. So at the time, my business partner, he was actually a magician. We were doing music. Right.
Crazy.
We were doing music and magic. Right. And so we would do the music and magic shows. He knew a lot about the side of like children's entertainment because he had been doing it quite a while in Baltimore.
Gotcha.
And then he moved to Kansas City. So I connected with him. And we started doing shows. We were doing like 250 shows a year.
Oh, y'all were
wow.
I'm talking about. And
y'all was a like an operating business.
Hey, bro, and this is all word of mouth too. So we talking about some Fridays and Saturdays. We got 4 or 5 shows a day. It's like 10, noon, 1, 3, 5. Like we pulling up, set up, jam, and we'll get to the next one. So I started learning that side. Like, okay, well, here's how we're performing to make money. But even doing that, I was like, at that time, I was just about hitting 30. 'Cause I'm 41 now. I still was like, we can do this to make money, but how are we going to scale this? 'Cause I can't be pulling up to doing everybody. I got my own family and stuff.
That's
like
facts.
I'm pulling up doing quite a few shows.
Yeah.
And so that's when we started developing a curriculum around the music. So the first curriculum was called Eat, Right, and Exercise. And so it was basically an exercise program for schools.
Right.
And so now once we built it out, connected with some educators, started testing it. So, okay, now this is a program we could license with schools. And so we did our first licensing deal. It was like $5,000 just for one school. So now, bam, we can repeat this process. This is how we can start, generating more revenue and also furthering our impact and actually now taking it further from just the music. Now we're educating the kids, right?
Yeah.
Through the music. And so that's where it started with that. And then fast forward, we did that quite a bit. And then I'm at the age where I was on the cutting edge of all technology. So I'm like, when video games first started coming out, Nintendo, I was part of that. Like when cell phones, the first G1 like joint, before iPhone was even a thing. Like, so I always was in like just I won't say infatuated, but I was just like curious about tech. I'm like, This is like, I'm seeing how it was taking place. And any business that was really scaling up, they had some type of innovative software. So if you're talking about the restaurant industry, now you're looking like DoorDash or Uber Eats. Same in the automotive industry was Uber, Lyft, Turo. I mean, you go on down the list. The film industry is Netflix, Hulu. So whoever was creating this innovative software, they were scaling their businesses. And so I started doing my research on that. And then that's when we made the pivot to the tech space and said, okay, now we can not only be in like 100 schools, we can be in thousands of schools.
Wow.
Through the technology.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What led you to did you consider yourself a techie, and what planted the seed for you to be so interested and consumed by tech? I mean, like what was the building blocks for you to kind of have that instinct?
I would kind of consider myself a tech. I was just as always like just it was just interesting to me. I was like, from the new phones that came out to like different ways, like, because I said I think he's about the same age, you're a little bit younger than me, but like we got to see it all from the beginning, like phones, apps, so I'm watching it grow, and I was just always like, man, this is dope. So I wanted to be a part of that. So I guess you can consider myself a techie, but I'm what they call non-technical, so I didn't know how to develop or code. So I can do like some basic stuff, but I don't know how to actually code. And so I was already interested in it, but then on the business side, what really pushed me all the way was another important part of our story about faith and just how tough this entrepreneurial stuff is.
Yeah.
We had got selected to pitch on Shark Tank, season 7 of Shark Tank. This is about 2015. And so we started in 2010 or so. So about 5 years in, we get selected to go to Shark Tank, right? So we like, man, this is our moment. We finna be on. Because even more important than the deal is the national exposure.
Yeah.
And so fast forward, me and my guy at the time, it was my guy, Reggie Reg, the Magic Man. And this dude, like, we come to perform it, like, this dude's like how can I say it? He's like kind of like the Eddie Murphy for kids, just big personality, just was silly with it. Yeah, it was just really entertaining and all for kids. And so we went and filmed the Shark Tank episode, closed the deal with Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful. I don't know if y'all know the show or not.
Okay, wow.
But he's one of the hardest sharks to close. And you wouldn't think like, oh, Kevin O'Leary finna invest in healthy hip hop. But he had been in the education space, Oregon Trail, which is like one of the first.
I remember Oregon Trail.
That was one of the first computer games. That was his.
What?
Wow.
Yeah.
Shout out to dysentery. Shout out to all them oxen you had to take care of, man.
Between that thing clicking, that thing moving up the
yes,
thing,
sir.
bro.
Trying to get down the Missouri River, bro. Yeah, all that. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. How we was even on the cutting edge of that. That was, you know what I'm saying? Right. We was the ones who playing that. So that was his property. Carmen San Diego was his. He also that's one of his properties.
Yeah.
And he actually sold, he had like a whole tech company that was for educational software. And he knew the founders of the Wiggles. It was a group, it was like a kind of like a Yo Gabba Gabba, but before them, they were in the Australia side.
Yeah.
So fast forward, he knew all them, was like, he gave us a deal. At the time, it was a $500,000 deal, $500,000 for 50% of just our kids' TV show. At that time, we had a different like business model. Yeah. And one of our things was like our kids' television show, the intellectual property behind that. And so did the deal. Once this thing airs, we own. And so that was September of 2015. And I'm a numbers guy too, so I'm gonna tell you how this all ties in and about faith. So that was September 2015. 6 months ago by, they're like, we're gonna let you know when it's gonna air. We'll give you 2-week notice. We're gonna throw this big watch party in Kansas City, at the Kaufman Foundation.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so
shout out to the Kaufman family,
right? Because they were doing the 1 million cups at this time. It's like a pitch thing for entrepreneurs. So fast forward, 6 months go by. I get a call, March 16th, 316, right?
Yeah.
And John 316 get the call, and it's them. And they're like, hey Roy, I want you to know you guys did an incredible job, but unfortunately your episode's not gonna air. I'm talking, my heart fell to my foot, fam. I'm like, what you mean? He's like, oh, well, the slots got full. It kind of gave me some crap. And so I emailed Alex Kenjeev. He's the CEO of O'Leary Ventures, and that's, who we started our due diligence with. And he's like, listen, Roy, can I talk to you guys off the record? I'm like, of course. He's like, well, you guys got screwed, except he used a little bit harsher language. I'm like, what you mean? He's like, well, ABC, the network that Shark Tank comes on, is owned by Disney, and they looked at your children's programming as competition.
Oh.
So welcome to Hollywood. Oh. Is what I was told. So basically.
So you had a great product, a great brand.
So good.
So good.
So good.
Raised $500,000 in capital. And because it was going to air on a competing network, the rug got pulled under your feet.
Rug got pulled on us, man.
And but the deal
was done. So even the deal, the $500,000.
Did the check clear?
The $500,000 was thrown in the trash can. Everything was thrown in the trash can. So we didn't get the deal. Because the deal was facilitated through Shark Tank.
Wow. So now, wow. What happens next?
So this is what inspired the tech. So at that time, so I'm not going to lie to you. So, like I said, got the call on 316. I'm talking about, so I'm 6'3". I felt 3'7", like a midget, bro. I was about this tall. I was like, cuz I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm smashed. I got smashed up. And so I was like, praying, and God was like, you trust me? I was like, yeah. He's like, keep going. I was like, all right, I don't know what that looked like, but all right.
Come on.
And so at that point, that's when I was looking at the tech side. I'm like, how do we had something special, but I realized that we just didn't really have a strong business model. You know what I'm saying? And so I was like, how am I going to get this? How are we going to get this there? So that's when I got in the trenches of all the entrepreneur resources that Kansas City had to offer. And that's when we made the pivot to us doing just the live shows and the curriculum to now creating the online platform and the mobile application. But again, I'm not a developer. So I went through a couple programs, Launch KC, which we got a $50,000 grant from them to develop the early stages of our tech. We got Digital Sandbox. These are all Kansas City programs. We got the Rainier Institute Challenge. So there are a handful of these grants that I was doing my research that were for entrepreneurs, for early stage entrepreneurs, to help you develop like these early phases to get you what they call VC, venture capital ready. And so all this stuff, I had no idea. I didn't know what none of this was. So, but going through them programs, I learned, okay, here's how we're going to build out our tech. Here's what our product is. Here's how we're going to pitch this thing successfully. Of course, I was telling a story about how Shark Tank just basically took a dump on us and like how we got something special, but now we had to pivot. So it's telling a story, getting the assets in line, like your pitch decks, your executive summaries, like financial projections, like all this stuff that so basically
big boy stuff.
It made me learn all that.
Yeah.
So I had to learn it. And then, and so basically that's when the pivot to the tech came. And that's when I went through them programs in KC, went through them, like I said, got collectively about $150K in grants. So the grants is what they call the non-dilutive money. So grants is no strings attached. It's just the money. And I was doing my best to be a good steward with that money to build it and show, hey, look, then I ended up getting my first investors. And so fast forward, was able to, from them, that happened in 2017, really built the actual first, like what we call the first MVP, like 2018, 2019.
MVP, what's
minimal viable product.
Okay.
So like,
can you talk? Let's because we like to get a little SAT on this show. Can you? There's a couple things for the journey I want to call out. You said we realized that we didn't have your business structure. Can you maybe say maybe even briefly, what led you to realize that there were some structural issues within the business after the Shark Tank thing? You realized, okay, we got to shore up some things in our business. What led you? How did you come to that conclusion?
Well, I think it was just being flat out honest with myself, and just what you just said is like a lot of the times in music and in the culture, like the culture that we have to offer, but we don't have no strong business behind it, right? So I was just being brutally honest with myself, and I was just looking at all the factors of how are we going to build a legitimate business. It can't be just because you guys got something special. You know what I mean? So we got something special, but how do we actually put the structure behind it? It's stuff that I knew nothing about.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of just me being brutally honest with myself and saying just identifying my weaknesses and the flaws and what I needed to fix, and then going out and seeking the help. You know what I'm saying? So and I went out and sought the help, and then people really started getting behind us. And then again, from that point, around 2019 to now, we've raised about 1.3 million.
Wow.
Collectively.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it, man. It's been a long journey, especially for what we're doing too. Because when you talk about the tech space, we're in the tech space, but we also have like a strong content and music play. Yeah. So a lot of time we talk with the tech folks, they like, this ain't necessarily in their wheelhouse. So it's been a extra layers and more challenges to the journey. But if you look at that full circle, that's how we even got here. It's crazy because even like when I first met and connected with Lecrae and how I'm here now with you amazing brothers for this podcast is when I first actually got out of the streets, to take it back to the first story, when I first got out of the streets and got me a gig at Blue Cross Blue Shield at KC.
Oh, yeah.
Dude at my desk was like, man, you got to listen to this. And it was a burnt disc. I told Lecrae the story. It was a burnt disc, and it was Lecrae. You know what I'm saying? It was like, and that was my first time hearing like somebody rap about God that was actually, it sounded dope. You know what I'm saying? I think he said something, I keep reading Ephesians. That was along one of them joints. This is way back. And how I came full circle for me, that was my first, like getting out of the streets, trying to start this new thing. And then to now, one of our biggest investors, Collab Capital, how we connected and brought Lecrae on as a growth partner. Yeah. And look how it came, full circle. And now I'm right here. And it's all about timing and just being patient, because a lot of the time I'm like, man, I know what it is. God showed me what it is. I'm like, I know it's going to be this. Like, what's up? I was just praying this morning. I'm like, God, what's up? I'm still facing some adversity. He's like, be patient, young man. Like, keep walking it out, and I got you. And so now, full circle. Now I'm here with two legends, because I did my research on both of y'all age. We've been rocking. Matter of fact, when I first time met Lecrae, you was here at the studio. And now I'm working, working with the best. That's amazing, and man. All comes full circle, man. You got to keep the faith strong.
That's amazing, man. And I know that there's more here, but if you're just tuning in, we're sitting in with Roy Scott, CEO and founder of Healthy Hip Hop, And we just heard the amazing story of how a $500,000 investment and a national TV spot was pulled off from underneath the team, and through perseverance and diligence and faith in God, now that's led to $1 million plus in investment for the business, national scale. And we want to hear more about this story. But first, we're going to take a quick break to hear some kingdom building music.
Yeah. And I feel like now's a good time to play Lecrae's Journey, because I feel like that song, just run that song back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm probably going to go listen to that later on.
Yeah, so keep it locked. It's the 116 Life with Marcus and Ace on Holy Culture Radio, SiriusXM channel 154. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is the 116 Life. I'm one of your co-hosts, Marcus, and I'm joined by my good friend
Ace Harris.
And we've had the opportunity so far to sit in with Roy Scott, CEO and founder of Healthy Hip Hop. And so far, we've covered an amazing journey that started with his son hearing his music and him recognizing right away that he needed to provide a healthier option for his child, to then going on and building a solution for children and schools, to encountering a $500,000 investment and TV deal that got snatched away, to sticking with it, staying with it, now being at a point where the company has raised over $1 million in funding and they're operating on a national level. Roy, again, a tremendous story. Switch your background from being in the streets, making music, to now running a tech company. I'd love to know what's been a recent moment that is, because if you're running a business, anyone knows this, there's all new level, new devils is what Andy Mineo says. So I'd love to hear a recent moment of encouragement or that let you know, like, okay, there's still more here.
Right. Yeah. Well, so we closed the year out pretty strong and started the new year with a couple good events. And it's been a lot of challenges too. So like you said, there is, like I said, new levels, new devils. But when you do get some of these wins, it continues, to validate, like, okay, I'm on the right track and God is with us. So to end last year, we were a part of the Black Ambition program. So that's a entrepreneurial program led by Pharrell Williams. And so they start out with like 2,000 applicants. They narrow it down to 200 applicants. And then out of those 200, you automatically get in the programming. So you get like the mentorship, the advisory, access to different events and stuff like that. But then from that 200, they cut it down to 50. And out of that 50, 30 get an investment. And so fast forward, we got in the program. We made that last 200. But we didn't make the last 50 for the investment. And so again, between me and you, like, I was a little disappointed. Like, I'm like, dang, bro, like, this is everything we do, like you said, the culture and even faith, because I know Pharrell and them, they're men and women of faith. And so I was like, we were such a good fit for this. I had a choice at that time to, like, you know what? I'm good on this, or like I'm going to lean in. And so I decided I'm going to lean in and go above and beyond, because that's always what kind of has got me to the next level. It was just still going above and beyond, even when I didn't want to. And so I leaned in, went through the programming, and they had an event they had like this big event, the Mighty Heroes event in Norfolk, Virginia. And it was part of the Black Ambition program. And they were doing a pull-up and pitch competition. So when it comes to pitches, like, that's something I love to do. It's almost like how, again, how the music and culture ties over.
Okay,
like, I rap, I'm on stage.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to get it, yeah.
So now I do it in a way where I just tell my story in a compelling way, and I bring it. Matter of fact, I wore this outfit on the same one when I pitched for the pull-up and pitch. So it was an event one day. I was like, I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to flew into Norfolk that morning.
Crazy.
And so I'm going to just pull up, man, and pull up and pitch, right? And so flew in. At this point, keep in mind, like I said, I didn't get the investment from the other stuff. I said, I'm just going to fly in and see what I can do. Went to the event, and they had the pull up and pitch competition. So there was probably about 60 businesses pitching, and you get 60 seconds. And so there was more people to start that were pitching than was even in the crowd, because we had got there a little early. And they were picking the first 7 to go on to do the 3-minute pitch, which would then you would qualify, you would get the money. And so I'm like, dang, I was like halfway through the pack, right? And let me show you how God was working. So I was probably about 25th in line or so. Right before I went, they had already picked the 7th person. So I'm like, it's cool. So I get up on stage, I do my pitch, and there was 3 judges. You had to get three green thumbs up to go to the next level. So I'm like, 7 already got picked, but they had a couple more pitches. So I went up about, like I said, 25th or so in line, did my pitch, and they were all looking like, we gonna give them so they gave me the 3 green thumbs up. So they moved from 7 to 8 for me. And they was like, all right, we're done with
room for you.
And I was the last one. They were like, we're done with the pitches. They were done. We got the final 8. So first of all, I wouldn't, you know what I'm saying, I get God's favor just showing up, and just in faith, and he got me in there, right? So fast forward, we did the 3-minute pitch. And so I did a 3-minute pitch. They would give 3 checks. There was a $20,000 check, a 10 and a 5, I believe. And so did the pitch and ended up winning the 20 bands. And the thing about that 20, it was still non-dilutive. So this was like a grant. So there was no strings attached to this money. So I got the $20,000 investment, and then Pharrell Williams came as a special guest at the end. Like, it was a surprise, and so got to meet Pharrell, dap up with him. You know what I'm saying? I got the pictures and everything. Like, you know what I'm saying? Well, he handed me the check, and we chopped. He's like, "Man, I love what you're doing. Like, let's keep the conversation going." And so Felicia Hatcher, who is his like right-hand woman in the tech space, she's in Miami. After that, I went down to the Art Basel, connected with her, so connected with A Team, and pretty much, was able to bring Pharrell on as advisor, you know what I mean, and get them on board with what we're doing and Black Ambition. So it was that. And so again, to get that kind of, what I'm doing now is we built the team, we built the product, we got everything going, but we want to get key stakeholders in hip hop, to really get behind it. So that's why you're talking about Lecrae, you're talking about Pharrell. Yeah. And then fast forward, we got selected again for another pitch competition. Cause the pitching is like, especially, it should be real, especially for like Black founders and women founders, like there's more levels, it's more challenging to get the money. That's why the numbers show like Black founders got like 1%, less than 1% of VC. And if you're talking about women founders, that goes down even more. Wow. And so, and there's hundreds of billions of dollars out there, but they just make it a little more challenging. So all the pitch competitions provide opportunities to get in front of VC, to get, more exposure for what you're doing. So the Legacy Classic, this was actually a few weeks ago, the Legacy Classic, we got selected to pitch. It was two entrepreneurs. I actually knew the other brother too, real solid dude. My guy Khalid with Track Flow. It's like he's in New York City. It's a tech company for like real estate. Yeah, all the deal flow. Yeah. And so pitch ended up winning that, but the thing was Michael B. Jordan was there for that. So I got to meet Michael B., pitch in front of him. You know what I mean? He getting ready for the Creed stuff. And and Michael B., he was just a real solid brother. Like, we chopped it up, and I was telling him, usually because the Creed 3 finna come out, I was like, when you get to that third one, like in a franchise, it start going downhill. I was like, but I seen the trailer. Yeah, the trailer look official. I'm like,
they got Jonathan Majors in there doing it.
He wrote and right. He wrote and produced it. I was like, bro, you did your thing on that. You know what I'm saying? We chopped it up, did the pitch, won it, and then they were doing the Legacy Classic is a basketball game of HBCUs in New York. This is in New Jersey, so on the other side, and so basically. Won the competition. They announced it. I'm on the mid-court with Michael B. He handed me the basketball, and show you how cold God is. I love basketball. Yeah. I used to hoop. That was part of my thing too.
Oh, yeah. Yep. We all hoop.
I'm talking about before Steph was around. You know what I'm saying? Light skin from 3 family. That was me. You understand? But so I love the games. And so just how I was able to stand center court. You know what I mean? With Michael B. Jordan. Handed me the basketball, but now I have him as an advisor. 3 firms, it's a collab capital, and we talked a little bit offline about Jewel. Jewel was there. Mac Ventures, Concrete Rose, these are all also Black-led VC. Yeah. So that was all there. So now kind of building on that momentum to now, I'm raising a seed round right now, so I'm raising some funding right now. And so just kind of building on the momentum of, the team is strong, the product is strong, the content is strong, and now we got key stakeholders in hip hop and entertainment really getting behind healthy hip hop and show that this is something that's valid.
And I want to ask that because I want to ask a little bit about that because we all also share, the 116 Life is a program about faith, business, music business, and culture, and maybe just kind of dipping into the faith bucket a bit. How are you? Can you maybe tell us about a moment as you're processing your faith, as you're interfacing with these individuals whose platforms are publicly different or publicly maybe even ambiguous on the faith side, how are you kind of navigating these big wins and this business success currently with the faith lens?
Right. Well, to me, it's ultimately it's just I've been leaning into just the word, trying to, like we mentioned earlier, just making sure that the things I'm doing is standing on this, and I'm not bending who I am like for any person or any opportunity.
Yeah.
You know what I'm just, this is not happening. So going into these things, I've been very prayerful. Matter of fact, I'm glad what you did even before we kicked this off. If you don't mind me sharing, like before we kicked this off, we kicked it off in prayer. Like,
yeah.
Which is, to me, that's dope. Like that type of culture. So that's how I pretty much even go into what I'm doing. Like I'm going into it intentionally with prayer. Like God, let you be the one who leads the way, right? And so He's been aligning me with the right people. So even like, Michael B. He's a man of faith. He may do secular movies stuff. Actually, think about the movies he's done. Most of the stuff been pretty clean cut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hasn't really done anything. But either way, like I've been praying for God to align with the right people. Even like Pharrell, even though he's like he's well respected in hip hop, he done stuff. But for the most part, like Pharrell's kind of like a clean cut cat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he had the Happy joint for the Minions.
Yeah.
Like so.
I love it. Deep in his catalog, he has a song explicitly about Jesus. I'm a big Pharrell fan. And it's "You're the greatest."
Yeah, he does. And he also did that Netflix documentary with his gospel choir from back home in Virginia. So he definitely, I feel like, has a faith background.
Jesus is my daddy, I'm telling you. I'm like, yo, Pharrell, this is funny.
I might have to flip that joke.
Right.
Maybe we can do a flip and bring that through. And I asked that question intentionally because, especially, we share, and we've been talking about this offline a bit, we share a few points of connections, being from the same city, having gone to the same school. Now we're sitting in the same room, in the same couch, and I just want to take this opportunity. If you're listening to this program, and you come, and it's not about where you from, and it's about where you headed. A lot of times we can, and what Scripture constantly encourage us is to don't despise the days of small beginning. Man, I sold CDs out the trunk in Grandview at the gas station off Blue Ridge myself, and I would have never imagined that it could lead to something like this. And it's so special to sit here with someone who shares that same journey and to be able to put that back out to people, even as a believer. If you have a vision that you feel God has given you, and it may look unconventional, right? You may be in a room full of rappers, and that may not, and you there, but that may not be your thing. You might have something different. It's okay to stick with that, or the journey may get tricky, and you might have to, kind of to what you said about going into meetings and being in the Word and praying. It's ambiguous, right?
Right.
But what I hear is that you're persevering and you're staying encouraged. And I just wanted to take a quick second just to call that out and give that as encouragement to our listeners. That great things are possible. And you may have to go through some hard things. You may have to pray some difficult prayers and make some difficult decisions.
Right.
Yeah.
And
ain't no made to it. You gonna have,
you're going to.
If you're going for something like, and especially like that God is calling you to do, you're gonna face a lot of adversity. And I think from my experience, even like we talked about, like some of my family and friends who I try to encourage and on their journey, like a lot of people, once they face that adversity, they fold it up.
Yep.
But the greater things are on the other side of that. So absolutely, it's been like really like not bending on my faith and being patient and like allowing God's timing.
Yeah.
We talked about that also. Like I've been so, in my mind, I'm like, I know what it is. Like God, show me this now. Like it's my money, I want it now. God's like, hold on, family. Like, hold on.
This ain't J.G. Wentworth.
I think what's dope. I think what's dope too, man. Two things that stuck out to me in your story, hearing the whole, I know it's probably even more details that can't even fit in this segment, but one was your ability to kind of persevere after the Shark Tank situation, which is like, man, that's a big leap of faith. But then number two, which is really practical, this is really shout out to all my music creatives, entrepreneurs, especially my music community, people are always pushing something. You took your own money, flew to Virginia.
Yes, sir.
And to do a pitch.
Yes, sir.
When nobody invited you, and got in line and basically freestyled to win a competition. I think we need to just pause and stop and just remind, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the kind of hustle and mindset. I mean, obviously the culture may call it betting on yourself. I look at it like it's just believing in God.
Yeah, and it's having some. We were talking about this on Monday we do a spiritual nugget every week to kick it off, and we were talking about Jesus and the 5 loaves, and it's like the disciples still had to give him something to work with.
Right.
And so much in this entrepreneurial journey, we can't overlook that God, Jesus, there had to be some water for him to turn into wine, right? There had to be some fish and some loaves. So really quickly, I was curious to hear this, Roy. So your journey started with the story. Can you think of any, or are there any user stories of impact that you've heard of how healthy hip hop is impacting families?
Yeah, for sure. So more on the school side. So on the family side, I have a lot of just people that I grew up with, and also people that were reaching out were saying like, thank you for, providing an opportunity to have like a clean hip hop experience with my family. And there's actually, I don't know, we didn't get a chance to talk about it a lot, but there's other players in the space now. So you may have heard like Gracie's Corner. There's the Jules TV. These are the people that we work with too that are doing some dope hip hop for kids now. There's, even though we started a long time ago, but there's folks now in this space that's really dope. But as far as on the educational side, one thing that really hit me when we started going to educational conferences, we connected with the sister, Dr. Sarah Burns, and she's in Chicago public schools. And, south side of Chicago, like it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, when my kids was coming in to get ready for school, to get them engaged in our lesson plan, it was taking me like 7, 8, 10 minutes to get them like settled in, focused. Once we started using healthy hip hop to start our day in the morning, I got that down to 45 seconds.
Wow.
So, because our highest use case is where teachers use healthy hip hop in the classroom for like morning energizers. So they'll stand up next to their desk, they'll dance, they'll do like hip hop music and movement. Because like studies show when kids get physically active, either prior to or during learning, it helps improve focus and retention. Some of the stuff I had to get in the trenches and learn myself. But so she started using healthy hip hop to start their day. And she was able to bring that time down from like 7, 8 minutes to like under a minute, because they was excited to do healthy hip hop, and then she was able to transition that into her lesson plan. So
wow,
that's amazing,
man. I love that. It's full circle. It started with your kid, and now it's having an impact on kids nationally, right? And so as we get ready, Roy, I would love to hear, man, are there any ways or resources, tips even, that you would leave for our listeners who may be looking for resources or tips or practices, even maybe we can leave it there, practices as a man of faith and an entrepreneur in the music space? Are there any rhythms, tools of the Titans that you rely on to continue to go?
Yeah, I think really it breaks down to just some real simple fundamentals of, like, for me, starting my day with the word. I'm doing my best to try to end it with the word now. Like, starting really like intentional with scripture, intentional with like study and prayer, and like having that foundation. And then once I could start on that foundation, because what I realized is even raising $1 million, like, for us, where we come from, that's a whole lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
But in this game, it's really not no money to them, right? So, but even that, I figured out as I started getting more and bringing more in, I thought I was my anxiety went higher. You know what I'm saying? Like my mental health was suffering more. Like my spirit, I was getting attacked more. So I realized God was showing me, like, it was always, he was my peace. Like, it was never going to be the amount of money I made. I thought at one point it was never going to be like improving my family's lifestyle. The peace was always just in him. Like, it wasn't in nothing else. And so I would say them simple fundamentals of like starting your day in the scripture, and then just really just applying it. Because the application, because like that's another reason we talked too long, a little bit over. But like with my pops, like when we was younger, like I said, we weren't as close. But as older, he's a witness, right? But I'm like, and again, no judgment, love him. I'm like, listen, man, all that knowledge of the word and all this cool word, application, no family. Like,
yeah, I
need to see it. Like, I mean, I want to be that. I want to be the application. I want to be the life you can look at. Okay, well, he's saying it, and he's actually doing it. So
living it.
Yeah. Right. Well, man, praise God. It's been so cool to sit with you and get to know your journey. Where can folks find out more about Healthy Hip Hop?
Just all the socials is just healthy.hiphop, or just Healthy Hip Hop, one word. Download the mobile application. It's free. all kind of playlists and stuff for kids. You can do it on, and even create these TikTok style videos, but in a safer environment for kids. So starting to onboard actually some influencers here in Atlanta, influencers. Yep. So everything is Healthy Hip Hop. Roy Scott, CEO. Yep.
All right, JoJo, we're gonna get on some Healthy Hip Hop tonight.
Yo, for sure. Lucas, you get into it.
Well, thank you so much. And for those who are just tuning in, my name is Marcus. I'm one of your co-hosts with my good friend
Ace Harris,
and this is the 116 Life on SiriusXM channel 154, Holy Culture Radio. We'll see y'all next week.